Okay, so attendance today is going to be through the CMS assignment, which we're going to post a bit later. But for now, we're just going to jump right into it. So we're doing the networking demo today. In terms of like the unfinished demo from last time, if I have extra time at the end, then I can like go over how we're going to do that. But I want us to focus on networking because it's really important. I want to give all of you time to try to implement it on your own and ask questions and stuff like that. So yeah, let's just jump right into it. Well, we're gonna like start with just a brief review of the concepts that we went over last time. So, yeah, so let's just like start off with like kind of review question. I mentioned this a little bit last time with the syntax, and I also, if you've asked me questions, I like to use this function a lot, right? So, does anyone know what does .let allow us to do? Why is it useful for networking? Anyone have any idea? So just to go over this, I know I mentioned it briefly, so I'm not too concerned that no, like we don't know this yet. But basically, .let is like an extension function in Kotlin. So whenever we have a piece of Kotlin code, and that this like variable could potentially be null, and we only want to do a certain action with that variable if that variable is not null. So we use .let. So we would take this variable that could be null, and then we say .let, and then we put these like curly braces, and then the code inside those curly braces will only run if the variable is not null. And the reason this is useful for networking is like there's a lot of uncertainty when it comes to networking. You could like send a request and then have your internet like cut out and you don't actually get a response, right? Or you could get a response and try to parse the JSON and then it's not formatted how you want it to. So there's like a ton of uncertainty when it comes to networking, and .let lets us handle this uncertainty, right? Like if it's not null, then we can do like a certain action with this value, right? So that's like a little bit of review. Yeah, and this like talks about what I just said. So okay, great. Now, how do we parse JSON with Kotlin? Does anyone remember the name of the library that we use to parse JSON? Moshi, yes, exactly. So the way that we parse JSON, we use Moshi, right? We create a JSON adapter with the Moshi library, and that JSON adapter is based on like whatever object we expect to see in our JSON. So we create a data class that represents the object that we expect to see, and we basically use that annotation on top of the data class that tells Moshi we want to create an adapter for this. And then we use that adapter to actually like parse the JSON, right? So, cool. Okay. So with that like little review out of the way, here's what we're going to be working on, which is an interesting challenge. We're going to try to get the date and time without using the Java date time library. So this, and the way that we're going to do that is through a network request. So we have this website, date.jsontest.com. And when we ping this website, it's going to return the JSON that represents the current date. So that's how we're going to get our date. We're going to pretend like the Java date library doesn't exist. And we've been given this like template here, and we want to try to figure out, okay, how are we going to get the date? So we're going to ping this endpoint, and that's going to give us back a simple date JSON response. And then we're going to need to parse that JSON and display it to the user. So that's your goal for today. You're going to be using Moshi to parse the JSON. You're going to be setting up a data class to represent the current date. And then you're also going to be using OKHTTP to send the network request and handle what can happen when the network request is sent. So yeah, hopefully you all have a project open in Android Studio. If not, if you're not up to that yet, I can like post these slides on Ed, just so you all have access to them. But the first thing that we're gonna do is add these dependencies. So these are the dependencies for OKHTTP and Moshi. These basically just allow us to use these libraries that were created by Google in our code. I think they were created by Google. That actually could be wrong, but they're created by like really smart people. We want to use their code, right? So we put it in this dependencies. And like a key thing is like keep your other default dependencies. Don't just like erase all the dependencies in here and then replace it with that, right? Keep your default dependencies, just add these 2 lines, okay? So add these 2 lines of code. I'll give you like a bit of time to do that. Just make sure that you have both these dependencies as they're written, and this will allow you to use these libraries, right? So take a bit of time to do that. But just shark your laptop when you're finished. If you know that term, like a shark. Yeah, no, I realized like some of the things that like people in my high school would say, it's like it doesn't convert to college, you know. Or like my teachers would be like, oh, shark your Chromebooks back in the day. What wait, what do you call it when you like have your laptop in a wedge? Not closed, but it's in a wedge. Really? That's so funny. Okay. That's like so much less efficient. You could just say shark. That's one word. Instead you say close it halfway. Like okay. All right. Looks like a good amount of us have it in. Okay, cool. So I think most of us have it in by now. Does anyone still need these lines? Okay. So we're gonna go on to the next thing that you're gonna do. And this one is in the Android manifest, right? So we do need to add the internet permission. Does anyone remember what permission level the internet permission is in Android? Normal permission, yes. So it's a normal permission, right? This is, we still need to add it to our manifest, but we don't actually have to request it from the user, right? So we're gonna add this in. And then the other thing that we're gonna add that we haven't gone over at all, and this is actually, you usually like shouldn't have this in your code, but for this demo we're going to, is this line in your Android manifest, which says uses clear text traffic equals true. So if you're curious as to what that does, basically like our URL for the date JSON test, like I just found this website like in the middle of nowhere. Basically, it's not a very secure website, so and like Android doesn't actually want us to ping this website, but because it's not secure, it uses HTTP, not HTTPS. So we basically have to say like uses clear text traffic equals true, and then that will like essentially override Android not wanting us to ping this insecure website. And it's fine because we're just getting some JSON from it. Like it's not really gonna be dangerous to our phone at all. So yeah, get these two lines in. Does anyone like need a refresher on like where the Android manifest file is, like how to find it? Okay. Once again, I'm gonna say it again, shark your laptops when you're done. All right, just a few more. Okay. All right, looks like we should be about ready to move on. Perfect. Okay, so these main lines are like these lines are really important. Your app will crash without them. So yeah. Okay. And yeah, here's this like basically the same slide as before. So this is like what your app should look like. You have like the current time is, and then here is I just like wrote this text about the time. It doesn't have to be this exactly, just like make sure to display the time that you get in some way. So yeah, there's that. And then you have this get time button. So this is actually what's responsible for sending the network request, right? Yeah, so to help you with this, you're going to refer to the lecture 6 slides. They have good examples of how to do all of this stuff, right? And also make sure that you create a data class for your representation of a date object. So I'm actually going to go into this website here, and we're going to take a look at what this JSON looks like. So we have our date, which is a string, right? We have this millisecond since epoch, which is an integer, and we also have the time, which is another string, right? So yeah, this basically gives us current time. You can see like it says 1:45. I'm pretty sure that's because it's in UTC, but yeah. So basically the idea is like a data class representation that you would make for this JSON would be a data class with like a date property, which would be of type string, right? Like a milliseconds property, and that'll be of type integer, and then a time property, right? And that would be of type string. So like that's an example. Like whenever you have JSON like this, you want to like model your data class based off of the JSON. And you can like you can look at this JSON for yourself just by going to the URL that's right here on the slides. Yeah. Okay. So I think that should be about it. So just get started, definitely raise your hand if you need help. Try to make sure that you're making some progress throughout the entire time. And then for the last I think probably for the last like 10 minutes, I'll start going over my implementation. So yeah, good luck everyone. Don't hesitate to ask for help. Wait, what? Would you like Yeah, I just feel like my last demo, like they didn't really have enough time to actually like implement it. So I want to make sure I messed up. I think another thing is yeah, I'm here to like go around and check people's progress. And like based on that, we could see if we want to include like finishing the last demo or not. I feel like the last demo was honestly not super essential because it's just another like use of shared preferences, just like in a slightly different context. So yeah, I think that's why we should like go around and make sure people are making progress. Yeah, if you don't know where to start, like the easiest place to start is always just making the XML. So, yeah, if you want to start off with that, then do that. And then like the next step that I would do might be like making my data class, right? That should also be pretty simple. You're just making it based off of the JSON that's here. So, yeah. This is at 25, right? Okay. Yeah, if you have questions.
So you want to get a class to do this. So I know it may not be much into this since it's here because there's no contract. It's like shares. So the reason we need it is date JSON that's like that we get this JSON and we don't really know how to post that JSON. We assume to like brute force it and like write code like if we see a curly brace then we should like or like if we see like quotation marks then we should actually stop and try to find where things are right. So we want to avoid too many using JSON parser. But the thing is that JSON parsers are very light on databases because whenever you have a JSON parser, you're trying to parse your JSON into an object representation. So that's why like we need data class, even though they're really like that to a setting. But so the data class is just like there's an example of data class on the lecture system. So it's like in the class. Right there. Oh. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. So yeah, that's like that would be like whole circle. Basically, it just says like everything else should be a name. Yeah. And then yeah, data class just says it just defines right. So like in this case, that's time string, right? That's seconds, here, right? Because like we can think of the date as like an object that has different properties. But so you want to make it. Oh, that's yeah. Yeah, if anyone's like, I think there's a lot of confusion about where the data class should be, like in general, that I've heard from a lot of people. So, like, the data class should be in its own separate file. So, like, you shouldn't have any other code where you have your data class. It should just be like in one file. And then, if you want an example of a data class, go to slide 26 on the lecture 6 slides, and that has an example of like what a data class looks like. But like the structure of it is like pretty basic. You just have like your fields and then like what type those fields should be. So yeah, so that so you have like at the bottom you see that just that's the data class. Yeah, just to be clear, it's that little like bottom left code snippet on slide 26. It's not the one in the center. But yeah, so that's like your example. You see you have properties, and you have what types of properties. And if you go back to like the data check JSON test, like your the tab on yeah. So you see how this has like an 8, right? And you can see that's a string that has lots of floats, right? And same thing with like the time and the milliseconds. So yeah, like that's kind of how you run. Does that make sense? Yeah, so yeah, the textbook is kind of weird because it doesn't specify. Okay, so first, see how you have Moshi holding, and then like you never actually initialize them. So yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, the new parentheses. And it's a question is for this. The way that this yeah, that's the JSON from our response, right? So we make this fetch URL contents function, and that's gonna get get the contents where you want to share, and then that's what we produce. Okay, and in the first row, yeah, that's fine. Okay, that's just the function. So I think that's okay. So you can hear so okay, so you're trying to convert the JSON places. Okay, so the thing is that you don't have the JSON string. Right? Yeah. You want to read our JSON string from our URL. So if you go to the lecture 6 slides, so I mean you can just go to okay, yeah. So then go. There should be a slide with an fetch URL. And this is like basically the method that you want to implement. So what this method is going to do is it's going to like send a request to the URL that you put in the URL field. And then so yeah, exactly. And then that is basically going to this method is going to allow us to get a string from the response. Okay. So if you see how it responds to that string. I think it could really be like either. I would just put it in class. So yeah, so you just have this like utility function that just allows you to fetch your contents, and then you can use that to actually get the JSON that you're picking from. So what if you have that is just that? Oh, so you have oh, okay. Oh, sorry. So okay. So in this case, like because this is like a very limited product, you need a single URL. You need a URL. Oh, like you could learn this passively URL. Oh, sorry. So when I have this like basically this fetch URL, it's like a generic. But we need to know one. So this is that we can get rid of the parameter here. Well, just think about it. When you call that function, you can possibly right here, you can just mark it. Right, yeah, so that's because you're making this on your yeah, that's fine too. You can also leave it like outside if you need to, but oh, it's because so it's the maybe I'm forgetting maybe plus. Okay, wait. So usually like so if you want to, how do you just write because okay, the reason that I didn't do this syntax is because when you write, if you like if you do new file, you can actually select. That's like yeah. So we could call it process file. Data class is what you choose here. All right, now do you see data class on here? So that would be. So we can see what it's. Yeah. So. That's. You just remember so like with that app on top of it, so you get it and then out there. I mean. Yeah. Just because there's so much going on. It's like I don't know how to I feel like there can be shows. Yeah. You know, I mean, I asked just and wait, this is I don't know if it's true or something like that. I mean, cycling has not had a good resale experience so far. Like understand public code base is not good. Has he had problems? Does he have the teacher this week? Yeah, that's why. So I told him this is your parents. Yeah, that's valid. Yeah, I think honestly I can probably be in. I'll just make time for it. Like I think I should as a course instructor. Really just yeah. It's fun. No, he doesn't. The movies? No, not yet. I don't know if like movies went to their own business. Okay, I'm gonna go help. I'll. Go ahead. Actually, it's going to be so. Okay, so the other thing is that assuming you have these parsing of relations, the thing is you don't want to issue. So that data class is very special in that you can like this. They really pass this very sharper or harder to be able to class. We don't have to do it. We do generally. Yeah. So yeah, we pass these they'll automatically create a shell. So I think you're kind of trying to create a shell. But you don't actually need to, so you can scare it off. Yeah. And then okay, so the only thing here is that yeah, so the only thing here we go back to the so the only thing is that we did the date as an object that's just three properties. And the three properties that like this object is it has a date string, right? It has the real spaces. So date, like what type date is string? And what time do you think the real second is? So what are you sure? Integer, yeah, it's a number, right? So you want an integer. So go back to and change it. So now, so now you have your data model. So the goal is to go out parse this JSON, even though it has multiple fields, right? You know what else is multiple fields? Is the data class. So that's not actually initialization. So it only looks like that because I enter counts, you know, it's the and it's not, and you know it's not initialized because it's not and then it just says that. So I'm just saying that multipliers have a kind of function. That's it. Okay, so let's talk a bit more about it. So we have further things. You can basically parse it as this next function. Yeah. So so basically this is so if you go back to like think about the fact that everything is here is a character. It's like a characters or right. These are all like characters, and the way that HTTPS works, it's even called so it's called hypertext transfer protocol. That's what it stands for. And the reason it stands for that, right, is because when we send a request to this endpoint, we're getting back text. We're getting back string. You see? Yeah. So because we're getting back string, that's what we're putting into the parser. So that's why there's a string in that function. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's why you get the string. And these big JSON strings you get from your network. Okay, when you query the endpoint, you get that the JSON string, you get that your pass. So yeah. So do you have like your we're just like not common when you say machine. Just this. So let's start this to yeah, you're definitely on the right track. That's really good. I'm glad you saw it this day, right? It's like our function, we're putting these tests, we're getting that. Right? So that's really good. So you're definitely on the right track. So just keep moving that. Every
Did you assign homework?
I signed homework 2 and homework 3 so far.
No, then how is he supposed to?
I think a grade, maybe, and under assignments. And like, oh, did you go back up? Oh yeah, see how it like assign grader? I think that's what I use to assign them. Yeah, unfortunately the interface is like really unintuitive.
This is stupid. Okay, one of these two. These two. Who did you give it to? Do you remember?
No, but it should definitely be on CMS. Like somewhere. Wait, I think wait, let me take a look.
Oh wait. Got it.
Oh, where is it?
please press show assigned to. Okay, I need them to grade like examine about this.
Okay. Oh yeah, I see it now.
You assign homework to.
Let me check. Yeah, homework 3 has been assigned. Homework 4 and homework 5 have not been assigned yet.
Then I'm gonna grade. I'm gonna give them zeros. I'll go through and give them zeros before I did it.
Like whoever didn't do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
How do you even know who dropped? Because Noah said he would send out updates, right? And he never did. I'll ask him.
So if someone else needs help.
Yeah, I think that's it. Data class. So I like. And if we do a Jason class, then we try to put it like a picture. Okay. We can really use them to use that so let's say.
I do want to make sure.
Okay, I'm gonna start going over the solution now. So, um, let me just like pull some things up. And remember to like submit on CMS what you have right now. That's going to be attendance for today, so make sure that you do that. Okay. Okay, great. Okay, so here's our main activity. So we're just gonna start by getting the XML, right? It should be pretty simple. So let's add, so this is, we'll just use this text as the title, show time, and yeah, okay. That's fine. Then we're gonna do like the actual time. So time is something, right? And let's just like extract these as well. Okay. And we want this text to be constrained to the top and the middle. And yeah, let's have that be centered as well. And then we'll just do that. Okay, cool. So yeah, this is like more just like boilerplate kind of stuff. Actually, maybe to speed things up, I'll just copy and paste from what I have. Let's see. Okay, yeah. So there we go. So just copying and pasting from the solution here because it's XML. I don't think that should be like the main focus of what we're doing here. So this is just like show time. And then here's like time is something. Show time. Okay, perfect. So and then this should be get time. Okay, cool. So we have our like basic XML in. And now we're gonna do is set up our data class. So whenever you're like working in an application, it's always good to have a folder because you might end up having like more data classes than just one. So this is just like best practice. Your data classes are basically like models. They're modeling objects on the back end. So I'm gonna create a data class, and the easiest way to create one is when you have this new column class / file menu come up, select data class here. And that will give you like the template for creating a data class. So it's really convenient. We're gonna call this like my date time. I put the my in front of it just so it doesn't conflict with any existing classes. And now we actually want to put in our stuff, right? So first we're gonna put in the date, which is a string. And we're gonna put in the milliseconds since epoch. Oops. And we're actually going to make this a double. So I know I told you, some of you, to make this an int. And like what you would have noticed is that if you tried to get it as an integer, you might have gotten like an integer overflow issue. So that's why we're just using double here. But the like key idea is that you want it to be a number. And time is going to be a string. And what I realized is that I need to actually add my Gradle stuff. Hopefully this doesn't take too long to load. I'm going to add in my dependencies. So let me do that. So I'm just going to copy and paste. That's what I essentially had you do as well. So just add these in here. And then while we're at it, I'm going to change the manifest. So we're going to add inside of our application, we're going to add the uses clear text traffic. So we're allowed to do unsafe URLs. And then we're going to add uses permission, just like I had everyone do. So the permission is internet. Okay. Yep, that should be good. And okay, perfect. So now we're ready to go back into our data class. And what we're going to do, you might have noticed, is that first I forgot to put JSON class JSON class generator adapter is equal to true. So we want to generate an adapter for this data class. And then the other thing is that Moshi needs to know how to actually parse this JSON. So see how this is called milliseconds? Like it's using this snake case where you have these underscores, right? But the thing is that my data class is actually using it's actually using camel case, which is where you don't have these underscores. So when it tries to generate an adapter, it's gonna look for a string in camel case because that's how I have my value, right? So if I want to get around this, I want to actually specify the name of the JSON that we're looking for. So we do that by doing this, like on top of the field that you want to have a custom name for, you say at JSON name equals milliseconds since epoch. So this exactly matches the name that we expect to see in our JSON. So yeah. Okay, so that's our data class. We're already done with that. So we're gonna move back to the main activity and finish up our code. Okay. So let's jump right into it. We have 2 minutes here, so we're gonna go pretty quickly. But yeah, I think we should like know what we're doing. So basically we're just gonna start by getting our views here. So current time text view, find view by ID. Right. So this you should be experts at this by now. Okay, perfect. And the URL we're using is the datejsontest.com URL. So put that right here. And now we want to get our client. So we want to start like making a request, right? So I'm going to say that the client is equal to OK HTTP client. So we're just getting an instance of OK HTTP. We want to use someone else's code. We're like getting an instance of like the object that has the methods that we want to use. And we're also gonna make a request. So we're gonna say that that's equal to request.builder, right? We want to build a request, and then we want to have some options with that request as well. So we're gonna have a URL, and we're gonna specify the URL is equal to this URL, right? Which points to our website. And then we're going to use .get and .build. So that basically just allows us to build the request. And the next thing we want to do is store our current date somewhere. So our current date, and we're going to make this an optional date. So, yeah. Oh, wait, and this should actually be my date time. And that's going to be equal to null. So we're initializing this as null, because we don't really have a date loaded yet. We don't know what date it is, right? And the only way we know is from a network request. So now we're gonna actually like make the network request. So get time button dot set on click listener, and let's just finish this up here. So we want to use our client, right? This is how we interface with the HTTP. So we want to use our client to make a new call, and inside of this new call, we want to put the request that we specified up here. So this just tells us the URL that we want to use. And then we want to enqueue that request, right? We don't want to just immediately do the request because then the app's going to freeze, right? So we enqueue the request, and we're going to put in our callback function, which we talked about before. So we're going to implement members, and basically so we're passing in this object that like implements this callback interface. And for this object to implement this interface, it has to have these methods implemented, right? So we're going to have to implement these methods, and we want to implement the on failure and on response. So when it fails, why don't we show the failure message so we can see what's going wrong? And the way that we're going to do this is using, first we have to first, like consider that when we make a network request, right? Usually we're on a separate thread. And like there's like different types of threads. Like usually you're on the IO thread. That's like sort of what they call it. It's basically all that means is that we're doing work in the background. But when we update our UI, we want to be on the main thread. So like the way that we actually switch to that is with run on UI thread. So you're probably like looking at this and be like, how would I know to do this, right? And even like when I was coding this demo, I didn't know to do this initially, but if you try to do it without this, it will crash. So whenever you make UI updates, you always have to be on the UI thread, and you only really need to switch to it when you're using like asynchronous programming like networking. So we're going to change the current time text to e.message. I know we are going a little over, but like we should be done in a few minutes. So yeah, okay, on response. So we're going to basically take our response, right? They give us this response in the function. So we're going to take it and we're going to try to get its body, and we're going to try to get that body in a string form. So this is our JSON, right? And this could still be null. We have this question mark dot. It could be null. So that's where we're going to use dot let. And now inside of this let, right, we have our non-null response. So I'm just putting this here so it's more readable, right? We know that we have this non-null response that we can work with. And here's what we actually want to update. We want to update, we want to like update our UI with this non-null response. So we still actually have to parse the JSON, and we're going to make a parse date function. So let's just do that at the bottom here. Parse date and date JSON string. So this function takes in a string, and we want to actually output an object, right? So we want to output an instance of my date time, but that could be null if the parsing fails. So that's like the function signature. And what we want to do is like if the parsing fails, it could throw an exception. So we want to have everything inside a try catch. So we're going to say try catch exception, right? So I'm just setting up like the basic syntax. So basically this just says try the code inside the try block, and if there's an issue with it, go to this catch. So from here, we're going to get Moshi, and the way we're going to do that is Moshi dot builder dot add last. So you might have like, if you were following the textbook, it does actually omit this step, but it is really important, is that you have to say that you're using Kotlin. So this is basically just telling Moshi, I'm using Kotlin. I want to use the Kotlin JSON adapter factory. And then we just build it. And now we only have like a couple lines left. We have to make our JSON adapter. So our JSON adapter is Moshi.adapter. And then what kind of adapter do you want it to be? So we want it to be a JSON adapter that has the myDate class, right? That's just the kind of adapter we want it to be. And then we want to pass in the myDateTime class. So this is just saying like I want to get an adapter based off of the class that I put into this parameter. Yeah. Okay. And then what we want to do is just use the adapter that we made and call from JSON. So that takes a string and it gives us the object, right? So we're going to pass in date JSON, and you can see from JSON, it's going to give us back our date object. So we just return, and let's see. Oh wait. So I think what happened here is actually instead of putting it inside these those like brackets, we're going to put it out here. Okay, yeah. So the reason that fixed it is because the adapter actually wants the return type, but instead I passed in the type of the object. So that's why it was having an issue. But if I just put the type annotation here, then it's fine. So all this is saying is my JSON adapter is of type JSON adapter of my date time, right? And then we're just returning the object that we get from this. Okay, cool. So now we have this set up, and now we can say that our date is parse date non-null response. So we have this string now that's guaranteed not to be null, and we pass it into parse date. But the thing is that date could still be null. So we're actually going to do another .let, my favorite function, right? And now we're going to say, okay, if the date is not null, let's run this code, right? And what code are we going to run? So we need to be on the UI thread. We're going to make a UI update and we're going to set the text to this like special string that I have over here. Basically all this says is we're basically just making a string based on the date object. So it's date.date with date.time, and meaning that date.millisecond since epoch has passed since the epoch, right? So yeah, okay. So I know I went like a little bit fast there, but I feel like this is all like things that you should be able to understand, right? Because we are just going based off of the slides essentially. Let's see. I don't know why that says it's red. Okay. Let's try running this. We're probably going to get the Gradle issue. So I'll just like update my Gradle anyway. Let's see. And while this is loading, anyone have like any questions at all about any of the code I implemented? I know I went pretty fast, so if you have questions, definitely let me know while this is loading. Okay. It's taking a while. So much time for questions. If anyone has questions. Oh, yes, yes. Okay, thank you. Come on. Build successful. We're getting close. Wait, there's still an error here. What is the error? Oh, wait. Okay, I actually missed this like a syntax error. Basically, because like this function has to return a like a date time or null. Like this function has to return something no matter what. And I forgot to return null in the case that there was an error. So yeah, okay. Now it should work. Android builds do take a while, but let's see. Okay, here's our app. Get time. Yay. It works. Cool. Okay. So yeah, when we hit get time, right? Just to like brief recap of what happens. So we hit get time, it calls this on click listener and it enqueues a request, right? And then once that request finishes, it will call the callback function that we passed in based on whether it was a failure or a success. And then if it's a success, we basically just got the string, right? We parsed it using Moshi and then we updated the UI. So yeah, that's networking in a nutshell. It's a very small example, but that gives you the fundamentals you need. Thanks for staying over, everyone. I know you went a bit over time. Feel free to stick around if you have questions. That's about it. Yeah.
Just a bump on the hack challenge forms. The team mixers this Friday. We've got the locations out. So make sure if you want to go to any of those events, you do. And kickoff Monday, don't miss it.
Yes. Yeah, no problem.
But the grading should be done up to the demo. I found everything and Rob's in.
Okay, nice.